All right. So for those of you who joined yesterday, I can see a lot of you, or a month ago, prior to me having a little baby, I asked you to do a little activity to fill out the persona template that I gave you yesterday. And so we've got a couple of really great responses. And I'm sorry I can't get through all of them because there was a lot. And I'm sorry I can't give all of you ticket printing vouchers either. But I don't think I'm allowed to give away 50 $100 vouchers. I think I get in trouble. So anyway, here are two that I picked out, partly because they're interesting. The causes are a little different, perhaps, to the usual ones, but also because, there's some interesting feedbacks, interesting things to sort of think about, some things that are done really well, and some growth areas, things that we could improve on as well. And so the first template I want to share is from Paige, and she runs a cause called Little Change Creators. And it's really cool because it's a social enterprise rather than a charity. So they do try to make a profit, but they also try to make a difference, and they try to be environmentally sustainable. And from what I can tell, having a quick chat to Paige, she's on the right track with all of those things. And so this is her persona template. And well, the first thing is we don't have a name for this person. So maybe we should just call her Paige. And I know a name is just a name, and it's kind of a silly thing, but remember how we talked about mirror neurons yesterday and building empathy? Well, having a name and having something to connect those parts of our empathy, those empathy sections in our brain to, a name really helps with that. So I would definitely add a quick name. Nice and straightforward, but it's surprising how much of a difference that makes. Surprising how helpful that is when you're referring to this persona and talking about it with other people. You can sort of go, does Paige, do you think Paige would actually like this? Or what would Paige want more? And then you can kind of refer back to that model of this person that you have in your head. So that would be the first thing. I particularly like the giving roles and responsibilities here, because she, it's, and the roles in particular and the responsibilities, I guess, to a slightly lesser extent, but it's pretty clear what she wants to do and how she wants to help. She really wants to teach her kids, but she also wants to show other parents, and she wants to demonstrate how great these little play kits are. And so she's going to be a bit of an advocate. She's going to kind of show things off. So, it feels good for her to show that she's making a difference and doing good things in the world. And in the process, the rest of the world gets to hear about this good thing that she's doing. So that's actually kind of cool and a good way to take advantage or leverage glory. And there's a little bit of guilt there too, which sort of makes sense. One thing I'm sort of not seeing here is just some more specifics. So she aims to contribute to vulnerable and disadvantaged kids through frequent product donations. But there's so many different types of disadvantage. There's so many different types of inequality in the world. So maybe we need to understand a little bit more what Paige, or whatever you call this persona, Paige, what she's actually really cares about. Is it vulnerable children and homeless families in her own community? Is it a group of people in a different community in another part of the world? Is there something really specific that she's experienced that makes her want to help or makes her feel strongly about this? If you can drill into that, that's really going to help you as you craft your campaign and you start talking and connecting with this person in different channels. So on to Rebecca, who has a very amazing space and cause with a very long name, which might be something to think about, Rebecca, although who knows, maybe that's what it has to be called. I don't know. Maybe it works for the community you're in too. But the Coal Loader Center for Sustainability. So this cause is interesting because it's a little bit different to a lot of the causes that I've seen from other people here. This is a cause-to-cause initiative. So the coal loader space is a space for other people to use so that they can have somewhere to do the things they need to do to make a difference, whether that's yoga on this lovely big green lawn, organizing a climate action protest, having meetings, or perhaps maybe one day, if I'm lucky, teaching a workshop there, or something like that. So I really like that cause because it's a little different, but it's actually quite common, these sort of leveraging things. Well, that's a good point, Rebecca. Yeah, it was an old coal loader and it is a center for sustainability. So it's an accurate name. And I think because it's a geographical or location space, people will get to know it by that. They'll get to know it by the space, and whatever it's called, it'll get its own nicknames, it'll get its own labels and things like that. So I really like this persona because we're looking at this person who, as far as I can tell, and I got a bit of feedback about this in a sec, but as far as I can tell, she's someone who's running a business or running a cause, and she might want to use this space, or she might want to tell her partners in the business or org she runs, or colleagues in other sectors and things like that about the space. So I kind of really like that. I like that she has a name and that she's a sustainability champion, because that really helps me start to get inside her head and start to think about what are the things that drive her? Why is she going to give us stuff about this space, and what might turn her off from that space too? So I really like that. I really like that we've got some sort of specific sources of information. But again, I think in the giving roles and responsibilities in particular, it might be good to drill down a little bit further. So she's combating the larger issues, but how is she doing that? Is she a member of Frontline Action on Coal and doing activism? Or is she doing something else, like teaching sustainability workshops or something like that? How is she giving? How is she supporting this center? How is she spreading awareness? How is she doing it for her cause? How does it all connect together? I didn't quite understand that. And maybe, Rebecca, you already know a bit more detail there, and you're just sort of fleshing it out, or it just didn't fit in the persona. Could be that. But I'd love to see you drill down into that. And I guess the other thing I want to frame here before we really drill into the workshop, and I hope to have some questions and a winner announcement too, but these personas are a work in progress, a whip, I think we call it a lot of the time at Canva. And because of that, you're going to start with this messy thing that doesn't make a lot of sense and isn't very helpful. And over time, hopefully, you keep adding to it, you keep adding detail, you keep refining, you keep adding notes, and you keep thinking more about who this person is and what's important to know about this person to connect with them on social, to convince them to do things, to market to them. And eventually you'll get clarity. Although I can tell you now, I've never seen anyone get to the straight bit on this curve. It's always a little bendy. That's the nature of business and marketing and everything else. But onto the winner announcement. I think you could probably guess, because I only showed 2 personas. So Paige and Rebecca, well done. Thank you so much. $100 template voucher thingy coming to you sometime soon. Jess and I'll work out how to send the codes, but I believe I've got all your emails, so it should be easy. Thank you to everybody else who shared questions, who shared personas. There were so many, and I wish I could just review and talk with you about all of them, but obviously there's no time. So we'll have to make do. But there is the Not-for-Profits Canva community, and you can jump on there at any time. You can sort of share your persona, ask for feedback. I believe there's some other participants in there too. So that's a good way to have a chat. I'll try and get on there and give some feedback too, although I don't know when I'll be able to do that because I have baby. So the last 2 things I want to talk about before we really, really drill into this workshop, which is actually pretty short compared to yesterday's one, is these 2 questions. So what is the best piece of advice that you would give to someone who is having issues with their persona? And so this was asked by Corey, who is a really talented fundraiser and social cause advocate, and just, pretty cool guy. And so I guess there's 2 problems that I could see here that could be causing issues with the persona. And the first one is just that, you're back at the chaos end. And it's just a matter of keeping on asking why, keeping on clarifying, keeping on refining. It could be that, in which case, over time, you will probably see that this persona becomes more detailed, more useful, and gives you answers to questions that you need to know to market effectively. Or there could be another problem, because no amount of marketing or engagement or promotion in the world will fix a cause or a product or a business that hasn't quite been defined or isn't quite working the way it should just yet. So the other thing there is, have you got your cause dialed in? Have you got the type of difference you're trying to make dialed in? Can people really understand the impact? And can you really clearly prove the impact? Because sometimes if you're getting confusion from your donors and the people who support you, it may be that there's like, in the business world, we'd say like a business or a product market fit problem. But in this case, it's a cause donor fit problem. So so you may need to just refine your cause a little bit too. Could be either, could be both. Most causes are not perfect. Most causes don't have a perfect impact model, and they can't clearly demonstrate it. But again, over time, you can get towards that clarity. So they could be the 2 reasons why you might be having issues. And I think this was from one of our winners. Was it Rebecca or Paige? But it was a good question. So any tips on marketing or shoestring or getting early adopters, brand advocates, that would be much appreciated. Yep. Hopefully this whole thing is kind of designed to help you do that. My recommendation is to not spend money right away. You can do Facebook advertising. You can do advertising on social platforms and things like that. But don't do it until you really have some level of empathy and understanding for your user and some proof that the things you're saying are working without you spending money on it. Because when you spend money, especially on social media, but even above the line things like radio ads or cinema ads or Super Bowl ads, all the money really does is give you reach, right? It helps you find more people, and you pay to put that stuff in front of people's face. But if you don't have the right thing in front of that person's face, then you'll just burn a lot of money. So yeah, and we'll go into figuring out what is the right thing to spend money on a little bit in this session and a little bit more tomorrow as well. But in the meantime, do you have a board? Do you have business partners? Do you have people with influence in your community? Connect with them and give them little packages, little bits of information that they can share with their networks. If you do have a board in particular, I strongly suggest you make them do their job, which is partly to advocate for your cause in their networks. A good board member does that. So find that, give them what they need to sell and tell your story, and that's going to help. All right. So with that very long round of feedback, which I hope was reasonably useful, out of the way, let's dig into unclogging our funnel. Last session, we got to know who we were talking to, and we tried to some degree to connect with them, build empathy and build understanding. It's going to take time, but hopefully you've now got the foundations to keep growing that and to really get good at figuring exactly what they want. But now we're going to shut down the empathy part of our brain, and we're going to fire up the analytical and the mathematical part of our brain. Because once we know who we're talking to, we now need to figure out what kind of journey are they on? How far along the conversion funnel are they from knowing anything about you or not knowing about you at all to being a rabid, loyal supporter? Don't know. That's what we'll find out. And to do that, we need to do a few things. The first thing is we need to make sure that we're measuring and thinking about measuring the things that matter. And to do that, I'm going to introduce a concept called pirate metrics. Show of hands if anyone's heard of pirate metrics before in the chat or Q&A. Actually, probably chat's better. Once we've done that, we're going to use the metrics, this framework, to think about the funnel, where the user is on the journey from knowing nothing about you to being a loyal follower, and perhaps where they might be stuck, where your funnel might be clogged. And then finally, we're going to kind of make our own funnel and try and diagnose that in our own cause. But to do that, who knows what pirate metrics are? All right, well said. Seems like you know. Might have read my presentation, maybe, I don't know. Oh, thanks, Rosalind. I'm glad you're learning a lot. Hope I can keep it up. So first we need to think about measuring what matters. And there's this great quote from this guy called John Wanamaker. I don't know if I've said his name correctly. He has passed away many, many years ago, like almost a century ago. But he said, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. And the trouble is, I don't know which half. And that used to be true back in the day when John was posting in newspaper ads. And did we have radio in 1922? I don't know if we had much radio. It's probably like a pretty special thing. Yeah, okay, Jess says we had radio. She was around, so she might know. Sorry, that was me. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, back then it was hard to know what had an impact. So you kind of put things everywhere. You did a lot of what are called above the line campaigns. So, you know, newspaper ads, radio broadcasts and things like that. And maybe you maybe you messaged people mailed people with a letter. I'm using the right terms. You know, you might send them a letter asking them for help or something like that. But it was hard to track. But these days we can track. These days we can tell. These days we can figure out what the money, where our money's going and what money and how we're spending it, what has the most impact. But to do that, we need to measure. It's the only way to know. So what are you measuring right now? If you run a campaign, if you send emails, if you have a Facebook group, if you have a Facebook page, what numbers are you keeping an eye on? Are you keeping an eye on likes, comments, impressions? What else? What else are you keeping an eye on? Are you looking at engagement, impressions? What does engagement mean? Is that the Facebook engagement, or have you got a different meaning for engagement? Call to action buttons, so clicks, that's always a good one. So there's a lot of things to track. In fact, if you've ever opened even just the Facebook Insights panel for a business, it's ridiculous. There is so much detail and it's hard to know what's the important thing. And the tricky thing is a lot of the time, Oh, my little thing hasn't rendered. Oh, maybe it's looking good on yours. I can't tell. But a lot of the time we look at the big numbers. We look at the pretty numbers. We look at what are called vanity metrics. Oh, Rosalind uses MailChimp. Yes. Oh, MailChimp has some pretty decent analytics. And they often kind of prompt you, if I remember, I haven't used it for a while, prompt you and go sort of pay attention to these ones in particular. And that's what we need to do. So instead of looking at like, oh, we got 100,000 likes or I have 100,000 followers on my page, that's a big, pretty number. But what the hell does it mean? Is that increasing your donations? Are those people actually, visiting your page every day, or did they like it and then disappear and they've actually forgotten that they even liked it? So we have to watch out for metrics that feel good, but don't actually tell us anything. And so we have to do it right. And if we do it right, metrics become a treasure map. They become this guide, this thing that helps you figure out exactly where you need to go next for your cause to succeed. Whether that's, I don't have any people who know about my cause. So, I'm at the start of my map and I need to figure out how to help people know about me so that I can do the next thing and get them along the line. Or perhaps people are right at the end of the treasure map and they're already donating and enthusiastically volunteering and buying your products and running events at your place. Everyone will be somewhere along that journey, but we need to figure out where they are. We need a way to map it. And so I introduce you to pirate metrics, which is a pretty cool concept. And the reason it's called pirate metrics is because the acronym is AARRR. R stands for acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue, which are just fancy ways of asking these questions. Are your first followers, are your people finding you? Are they interested in you? Are they connecting with the things you're giving them to connect? Are they coming back to do it all again? Are they telling other people about you? And finally, are they paying you? And the interesting thing you'll notice here is revenue. And revenue could be a donation, or it could be a purchase, or it could be buying a perk, or it could be volunteering. Okay. In the charity world, revenue can be a few different things, but it's right down the bottom wherever it is. And the reason why is because someone who's just found out about you is unlikely to immediately donate. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes people go from here to here immediately, but it's pretty rare, especially if you're just at that start and you don't have that giant network of people who are all excitedly dancing and supporting your cause. If you're at the start of the wedding dance, it's going to take you a while to move people along to here. And the reason why is this thing that they call the commitment curve. And basically all it says is that over time, people trust you more. And the thing that helps them trust you more is giving them little things, little commitments, and little actions to take. And the more they do that, and the more they get positive feedback and encouragement, and the more it feels good, the higher up the curve they'll do, the bigger the actions they'll take, and the more they'll trust you. And so a little action might be a like or a follow, and a big action for most people is some kind of donation, especially if it's a big gift or it's volunteering or something like that. So this is a way of tracking that you are doing this, that you are moving people up the curve and that you're giving them the right things and that you're figuring out where are they now in that journey of trust, in that funnel, and where do you need to take them next? Or where are they stuck sometimes as well? So to do that, we need to figure out what the numbers are telling us. And so to do that, we actually need to figure out what numbers we're actually going to use. And this is where it gets tricky. Understanding the pirate metrics concept is easy, but figuring out how to apply it perfectly to a business or cause, that's going to take a while. That could take years. I'm still refining it for the businesses and causes that I help run. But chaos to clarity, start somewhere. So we need some numbers that tell us what's happening and how people are going and how many people are moving from the acquisition step down to the activation step, from the activation step down to the retention step, and so on and so forth. So I've talked about acquisition. Acquisition is people discovering you even exist, just realizing you're there, just reading or seeing something about you, not necessarily liking anything or anything like that, just popping into their knowledge, their sphere of knowledge. So what's a good way to measure that? Has anyone got some ideas? Anyone got some thoughts? I've got one for emails, which is just, did the email land in their inbox and did they open it? That's probably a pretty good idea that acquisition worked. If you're cold emailing people in particular, did they even open it? That might be one. Direct messaging, yeah, that could be one, or that might be a bit deeper. So these numbers are tricky. And I'm kind of asking that tricky question first because, yeah, it's hard. Oh, Anand, that was a good answer. Views. Views is a good acquisition metric. It's a really good indicator because it's the lowest commitment thing you can do is to just look at something. The next lowest thing is not seeing it at all, in which case, well, they're not on the funnel yet. They're up here somewhere, they're up the top. So yeah, views is a really good one. Engagement, impressions, there's a lot of different names for it on different platforms, but all we're really thinking about is eyeballs. How many eyeballs were looking at whatever you created, looking at whatever story you told? So then, we can look at activation, and that can be simple, low commitment things. So I said opening an email could be an acquisition thing, but it could also be an activation thing. They've read your subject and they've decided, okay, yeah, I want to read more about this. Liking something is an activation because now they've actually signaled to you and to other people that they agree in on some level. And activation is good on another level because things like Facebook, they look at likes, they look at comments, and they look at things like that. And based on the number of likes and comments on a post, the algorithm will decide to show it to more people. So that's a good one. And so it kind of keeps moving down. People following, people coming back, return visits, time on site. Referral, do people run campaigns? Do they do things like that? And revenue, well, that's kind of straightforward. Are they donating? Are they spending time? Are they doing something for you that helps you grow? Are they doing the thing you need them to do to help your course grow, whatever that is? Okay. So that is a tricky concept, and we might need a little bit of practice to kind of work through it. So we're going to try and look at some metrics and try and figure out a few things about them. And we're going to do that by thinking about where the blockage might be in the funnel. And this is going to be a real hard one. Haven't actually tested this activity outlet yet, so let's see how we go. But I just want you to take a guess. Doesn't have to be perfect. Trying is the main thing, getting from chaos to clarity. So here's a funnel, and we've got 36,000 views at the top, which seems like a lot, especially compared to 50 likes. So not many people went from there to there, and 2 people followed and 6 people shared it. And somehow they got 400 donations. So looking at that, there's this really big number here and a lot of sort of smaller numbers here. Where is the biggest fall off? Where are people disappearing? What's happening? Where's the get bit? Is it between acquisition and activation? Are there lots of people seeing it, but not many people activating? Or is it from activation to retention? Are lots of people liking it, but not many people are sticking around to follow? Yeah, we've got retention, activation, retention. And then we've got, yeah. So I reckon looking at these numbers, this is huge. 36,000 people viewed this one, in this case, let's say it's a post, this one post, but only 50 of them liked it. That's weird. That seems like a weird ratio. I would expect 1,000 people to like it at least. So for me, I would say if I made this post or I had this campaign, lots of people are looking at it, but not many people like it. Not many people want to engage. So there's something there. They're aware, but they don't agree. They don't want to become a part of your cause. They're not ready to take that first step, that first commitment. Yeah, acquisition to activation, I would say. Maybe you have a really controversial course though. Maybe you have something that people don't like to like, in which case this number might be fine. One thing I can say is 400 donations is flippin' sweet. So clearly something's working there as well. Maybe that is the thing. It's a controversial cause, so people don't want to like, but they're happy to support privately. All right, here's another one. Here's some real metrics from various social media places where I've worked. So we've got 112,000 people reached, 26,000 people engaged. They did something with the post, but the likes dropped 21%. Okay, so looking at this, I think there's a bit of a problem here with retention, because if someone's liking a page, then they're interested, they want to find out more. And something about what I've done between the 10th of March and the 6th of April, like the last 28 days or whatever, has caused people to unlike me. So going back to the funnel, I have a problem, I would say, with retention. I've actually reduced the retention. So lots of people liked it and engaged, but then they ran away. I scared them off. Pinterest, 104.2 million people have looked at stuff on my Pinterest business page. 325,000 people have saved it, and 209,000 people have clicked a link and gone to my actual site. That's actually pretty sweet. Maybe there isn't a problem with the funnel there. Or maybe this many people looking at it and that many people saving means something about my pins isn't interesting enough. Maybe I have an activation problem again. This is hard. This is not easy. And it takes time and practice. But we're going to get from chaos to clarity as much as we can today. And we're going to kind of do a little bit of an activity to kind of dial it in a little bit more. But I don't expect you to perfect this anytime soon. Just be aware of it. And I'm sorry, Jess, I'm going to try and rip through it. I'm nearly done. So we're going to try and do our first funnel. We're going to try and do our first analysis of our metrics in this framework. You may have looked at impressions and likes and things, but very few people have kind of put it all together. And so the best or easiest way to do this is just to find a single post that you've made on any social platform. It doesn't even have to be for your callers. It could be something you made that got a lot of likes or something like that just on your personal page. And you're going to try and think about the best way to fit the numbers for that post to the funnel. And I can give you some examples in the workbook if that helps. But I do want you to try and figure it out, because every course is different. And so every metric or every way you use these metrics is going to be different. And Brandon, I'll come back to that question, but I'll just kind of get through this quickly. What you'll probably see is there'll be some kind of fall off. There'll be some point between acquisition, the number of people who view, and revenue, where the numbers drop in a big way. And I want you to look at that, and I want you to tell me what that is, what the blockage is, if there is a blockage. Or maybe it's sweet, maybe it's all good, in which case that's fine too. And based on that, you should get an idea of perhaps what you need to do next, where you might want to focus your first set of campaigns, your first set of messages and things like that. Because, for example, if 1 million people like every post you make, but no one donates, well, you might have a revenue problem. And you might want to kind of think, okay, well, how do I ask people to donate, or what do I need to do there? Okay, so tricky one. This is in the workbook, which I believe Jess will share, along with a bunch of other resources, a short YouTube video by the guy who created or invented the concept, a really good article by a guy called Neil Patel, and a few other things. So that will probably help you clarify. This is a tricky one, but give it a go. And just remember, chaos to clarity. Take your time, you'll get there. All right, that's a wrap. But just before I really dig into it, I will be reviewing these funnels again in tomorrow, so please do share them. And there's no wrong answer, and you don't have to put your name to the funnel if you don't want to. But I'd love to do a bit of a review and help give you feedback and help guide you on how to apply this framework. So that's what we'll cover tomorrow. We're going to smoosh it all together into our first campaign, into our first calendar. We're going to think about what our goal is. We're going to think about what we want to say. We're going to think about how to schedule it and measure it and stick it all together. And now, Brandon, I'm just going to go back to your question. Okay, where were we? Do likes really tell how much people are liking our content? I've noticed very few likes despite showing a good number of engagement on the Facebook analytics. So again, it really depends on your cause. My perspective would be that if you've got a lot of engagement, does that mean posts and comments and things like that? In which case, yeah, maybe likes don't tell you much because people are doing a different activation. They're talking to each other. If that's the kind of engagement, then that's all right. If the engagement is reactions and you get lots of reactions and not likes, that's even better. Reactions are, as far as I remember from the last update to the Facebook algorithm, more valued than likes. You'll get more reach based on that. But if you're seeing a lot of people view it, but no one's liking it, that might indicate that the story you're telling or the content you're producing is not actually having the desired effect. People aren't sticking around. They're kind of reading it, but it's not moving them down the funnel. So you may want to think about how to move down the funnel. Rebecca, where can I join the not-for-profit community on Canva? Is this a group? It is a group. I believe I've got the link in the workbook, but I'll make sure I've updated it and I'll share the link again. But I think you just type in Canva not-for-profits community on Facebook. It should be in there. I try to pop in there as often as I can, which is not often enough, but I'll try and pop in after this set of workshops just to kind of give a bit of feedback. Yeah. Any other questions? If Jess was yelling at me that whole time, in which case I didn't notice the messages. Sorry.
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking if I can grab the link actually quickly for the nonprofits group. We've got a question from Momina. What is the difference between engagement and views?
What is the difference between engagement and views? So I believe you're probably looking at the Facebook Insights panel when you're asking that question. And if that's the case, well, two tricks. Oh, thanks, Momina. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah. So two tricks. The first thing is there's often a little information thing which will tell you exactly what each metric means. So go look at that definition because sometimes those definitions do change. But off the top of my head, I believe that engagement means people actually did something with your post. So, you know, if you're looking at your phone feed, I don't know if this will work, you know, people are scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. If it passes them in the feed and they don't do anything, or if they're viewing it in a story, but they don't do anything, that would be considered a view on most of the social media platforms that you all are probably using. And an engagement means I believe it's either they stopped and clicked a like or a comment or a share, like did an action, but I believe it can also, I'm just trying to remember for sure whether or not it also includes them just selecting the post, but I believe they have to actually do something rather than just, you know, stop and look at the post. But that's why you want to check the little likes, comments, shares, and saves. There you go. So it is a direct action. Yeah. I feel like, and again, I'm so bad at remembering all the different insights because I just write my pirate metrics and track the ones that are important. But I believe there's a way to differentiate between a view and pausing on the post or viewing the post as well. Oh, great. So Jess has just shared the link to the Canva nonprofits community. So yeah, it's mostly member run, but a bunch of Canva people do drop in, and yeah, it's really for you to help each other as well. So please remember, if you do make a post in there, try and answer someone else's post, try to help someone else as well. Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you. This funnel exercise is going to be harder than the persona exercise. Okay, but give it a go. Don't be shy. Have a crack at it. And I look forward to having a look. I'm going to check in about 8 hours and have a really good look through the submission so far. And I may try and give a little bit of early feedback if I can, because, you know, funnels are hard to review. So yeah. All righty then.
Cool. Okay. I'm just going to put that link to workbook 2 in the chat one more time. So if you have not grabbed that link so that you can take part in the activity, here it is. Last time before we go, grab that now and yeah, have a go. You can have the chance to win a $100 Australian dollars print voucher for yourself and try out Canva print. So
congratulations to everyone else. Sorry,
yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
Well done to the 2 winners from the last session. So we've got the very last part coming up tomorrow, same time tomorrow. So tune in again and we look forward to seeing you then. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.